Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on Little's Law YouTube channel. So today in this video we are going to see about a different thread group, and we will see how to use this thread group to do a load testing using JMeter through with all our scenarios, all the 8 scenarios which we have planned or which we have designed already for the performance testing or the load testing. So in this video we will see about the concurrency thread group. So this is the fourth type of thread group that we are seeing in this series of video. So previously we saw about the ultimate thread group, and then we saw about the open model thread group, and third we saw about the arrivals thread group, and then the fourth, today we are going to see about the concurrency thread group. So first we will see how to use this concurrency thread group, and then we will see the differences between the concurrency thread group and the other thread groups, and also we will see for what type of performance testing can we see the concurrency uh, can use the concurrency thread group, whether it is to be for a load testing or stress testing or for an endurance testing. So before we move on to the video, I welcome you all to subscribe to our Little Sly YouTube channel, and this is me, Yavasan Shanmugam. Please do like, comment, and ask questions in the comment section. So first, let's see how to add this concurrency thread group. So this is again part of the. Let me open the plugins manager, and this is again part of the custom thread groups. So either you can download from the plugins manager, or else you can download it from your plugins manager, the website, and then you can download, and when you download it you automatically get all these 5 thread groups. So that is how, I mean, like, again, copy pasting it to the library folder, the jar file will bring it up, and before making it working you should need to restart the JMeter, because only then it will be reflected in your JMeter. So now let's see what is this concurrency thread group and what are all the areas that we can use it. So this is the concurrency thread group which you are seeing here, and this has 4 different input parameters. The first one is the target concurrency, and this target concurrency talks about the users. It's not like similarly so in the previous one. So this is again completely similar to what we see in the concurrency thread group, but in the arrivals thread group you can see here it shows the arrival rate, which is the number of hits. But when it comes to the concurrency thread group, it shows the number of threads. This is again, I would say, in terms of performance testing, so this is the number of users, and it's not the arrival rate, or it's not the hits per second or hits per minute. So this is almost similar to what we have in the ultimate thread group. So this deals with the number of users rather than the number of hits or number of active number of hits or the throughput per second. So again, so just make it to clear, so this concurrency thread group talks only about the number of users, and then next comes the ramp up. So we can define the ramp up in both the seconds and in minutes. So this is similar. So in the bottom below the graph you can see we have the time units which takes us through the minutes, and then the seconds. So we have options, and then we don't have options more than that, so we just have only seconds and minutes, and we don't have hours. And this part is similar to the arrivals thread group. So in both the arrivals thread group we have the minutes and seconds time units. So the same is followed here in the concurrency thread group, and in fact we have the same set of metrics other than the thread group, which is the ramp up time, the ramp up steps, and the hold rate. So if you see here in the concurrency thread group we have the ramp up time, we have the ramp up steps, and then we have the hold rate, which is the time duration of the test. So in this example what I'm doing here is, let me just clear all these. So I'm adding a concurrency rate of 10 users, and the ramp up is going to be 5 seconds, and then the ramp up steps count is going to be 5. So in case if I want to just make it into 2, I can even make it to 2 in that way. So in the very first if I'm dividing this into, I think, for 0.3 seconds or something, so 0.3 in the third second you'll get 5 users, and then in the before 6 seconds or in the fourth second you'll get all the 10 users into the system. So in case if you are running this test for 100 users, and you want to run this. So let me just change it to minute, because usually we run our test in minutes. So in this scenario, for example, if we are, let me just open a notepad and I can show it to you. So what if the user load is 100 users, and the duration, that is the steady state of the test, is going to be for 1 hour, which is 60 minutes. So steady state is 60 minutes, which is the hold target rate in this example. So in this scenario, what I'm going to have is my ramp up time is going to be for 6 minutes, and then the ramp up steps. So I can decide that what is going to be the ramp up steps. So in this scenario, I can just make it to 5 or even 6. So let's design this scenario here. So the user load is going to be 100 users, and then the duration is going to be 60 minutes. We have already set up here, and then the ramp up time is going to be 6 minutes, and then the ramp up step, let's make it up to 5, or even we can make it up to 6. So it's all up to us. We can decide that user load. In case if we are making a huge set of user load, then it will automatically break up based on that. So in case even for any number of users, even if I want to run for 1000 users, automatically this ramp up steps will divide the users during the test. Again, this test or this thread group will not show us what we have in the arrivals thread group. Say for example, in arrivals thread group, when we give the target arrival rate, the ramp up time, the ramp up steps count, the hold rate, it automatically showed us the total arrivals. But in the concurrency thread group, again, which I have mentioned you in my previous video, so whenever we decide a test, we run a test with the threads, we will not have the opportunity to learn or to understand the number of hits until we complete the test. So here we cannot see the number of uh, total arrivals at the end of the test. So this one we definitely need to work on the workload modeling, and based on that we will have to arrive to this number. In case you missed my video on workload modeling, please do visit my previous videos on this series. You can understand how does I did the workload modeling, and I have separately 2 videos for workload modeling. Please do visit that in case if you need more information. Okay, so let's come back to this scenario. So I'm just making it to 100 users, and then the hold rate for 60 minutes. So let's do a simple test. Let me take you through a simple example. So I'm going to just change it to 60 seconds, and then 6 ramp up. The ramp up time is going to be 6 seconds, and then the steps count is going to be 6. So at the end of the 6 seconds, we will have all the 10 users inside the system. And let me run this test. I will show you how does it work. So let me start the test. I've started the test, and when we go to the active threads over time, so here you can see we have already reached the maximum users, the 10 users, and now we are seeing the 10 users running in the system. And as we decided, we could see at around before 5 to 6 minutes we have got all the users into the system and they started to execute. So overall we could see all the 10 users are running throughout the entire test. So what does this mean? So this means that this can be used for a load test where we want to have the exact number or the expected number of users to be running during the entire test. And in fact we can use it for endurance test where we are running this test for a long duration. So this is a scenario, or this is a thread group which is a perfect choice if you are running a load test. So let's move on to the bytes throughput over time. So here you can see there is a good rhythm of testing going on. And so this is how, if you are seeing some differences, say for example if there is a unusual spike during this testing, not like this, but there's an unusual spike. So for example, if the average here you can see it is around 36,000, and if it goes beyond 1 lakh or 1 lakh or like 10 million or something like that, then that's a huge spike. Or if this somewhere goes below below the 6,000 range, so that is where it's unusual. If it goes like this, like the a pattern of up and down, so this means that the test is executing fine and everything, because once you send a request you might need to wait for some time and then you'll get a response, and then we will send the next request. So this way it's quite a successful test. In fact, if you see in the summary report, we don't find any errors, because this again will show us, because this is not something we don't have many people think that this graph has nothing to show us, but just by seeing the graph alone we can find whether the test is a passed or a failed test, because this will exactly show us how does the test runs. This is something like the ECG report of a human being. Like if there is something wrong, automatically we can see that in the graphs. So when it comes to active threads over time, so we could see there was a ramp down during the first, I think it's around the 68 second. And then let's go to the summary report. So we were able to achieve 268 searches, and the average time is 104 milliseconds. 92 milliseconds is a minimum, and 1 second 1.115 seconds is a maximum. And then the standard deviation is 62.13, and then the error rate is 0, as I told you already. So this way the test is fine. So what I'll do is do now is let us run a load test with what we have planned. So what I'll do is I will change all these thread groups into the concurrency thread group, and I will take you through a load test. And then before that, let me just tell you the differences between the concurrency thread group and the arrivals thread group. So here you can see almost they look similar, like the design and everything is similar, but what's the difference? So first we'll see the concurrency thread group. So the concurrency thread group is designed to simulate a constant level of concurrent users. So here you see it simulates a constant level of concurrent users accessing the application. So in other words, I can say that it is used to simulate a fixed number of users accessing the system concurrently throughout the test. In fact, this thread group is useful when we want to maintain a specific number of users on the system throughout the test, and we can set the number of threads and the duration of the tests in the thread group like we have set here. So we can set the number of threads and the duration of the test in the thread group. So when it comes to the arrivals thread group, it is used to simulate a gradually increasing or decreasing number of users accessing an application or system over time. We already saw that in our previous video. We were able to see a gradually increasing or decreasing number of users. This thread group is also useful when we want to test the system's scalability and how it handles a gradual increase or decrease in user traffic. And we can set the number of threads here. We can set the number of threads, the ramp up time, and the duration of the test in the thread group. So here, as we said, so we can set the number of, not the threads, sorry, it's the number of hits we can set, and then the ramp up time, the ramp up steps count, and then the hold rate. So that's the only difference, the main difference. So here we can set the thread group, and here we can set the arrivals, the number of hits that we wanted to achieve it during the end of the test, and that's the difference. So now let's watch how I'm going to change all these thread group into the concurrency thread group, and then we will run a quick test. So let's now come back to our previous plan where we have decided all these for the load test. So let's open the tool, and then we will set up these load. So the first script is going to have 30 users. So here I'll have 30 users, and then let me change the minutes. So the minute is going to be 60 minutes. For this example, I'll just demo you. So it's going to be 60 minutes, and the ramp up time, again, it's going to be for 6 minutes. So this is how the normal ramp up time I always set. So the step count is going to be 3, or even I can make it to 6 in case if I want to, because anyways at the end of the 6th minute all the users will be in the system. And then let me go back to the second script. It's again 30 minutes. So let me again change it to 30 users. So 30 users, 60 minutes. The ramp up is 6 minutes. The ramp up step count is going to be 6 minutes. And then for the third script is going to be 15 users. Let's change it to 50 users. The duration is going to be 60 minutes. The ramp time is going to be 6 minutes. And then the ramp up step is going to be 6 steps. Then coming back to the scenario 4, again it's going to be 15 users. Again 15 users for 60 minutes. The ramp up time is going to be 6 minutes. Steps is going to be 6. Then again 2 times 15. So let's complete it. So 15 for 60 minutes. 6 minutes of ramp up. 6 minutes of ramp steps. then again a 15-minute, a 66 minutes of ramp up, and then let's see about the login logout. It's going to be 120 users. So let's change this login to 160. Then the duration again, everything. So all the duration is going to be the same set of time. So because we are planning to run all the tests at the same time, so everything has to be decided for the same time. But depending on the response times and the think time, it might extend or decrease, but again it will end only after the 1 minute. So here you can see every test will end up showing here. It's like for 1 hour and 6 minutes. Let me change it to 6, and then the ramp up step is going to be 6. And then again, coming back to the last script, which is the search, we have 60 users. I'll change it to 60. We are set now. So for running or for doing this example, let me just change them. So for this, let me change it to seconds. So we'll have it for seconds. Let me change it to 10 seconds, holding it for 60 seconds. So same way, I will change it all of these to seconds, and then it's going to be just one user, since this application cannot handle, at least this application, the test application which I'm using, will not be able to handle more users. I'm just running, so this is a completely for a demo part. So let me just confirm whether everything is going to be seconds. Then I'm just again changing this to second, another seconds. Just changing it real quick. Yeah, so before we move on, so let me just check whether everything is set up to seconds. And then yes, we are set up to seconds, and then let me save this thread group and let's start the test. So let's come back to the summary report, or even we can see the active threads over time. So here we can see the total users we have decided is around 17 running threads, and we have got all the 17 threads in the test. And then let's go back to the bytes throughput over time. So here we could see a rhythm of response, the bytes received per second and coming back per second. So we can see that is running through. And let's go to the summary report, and here we can see we are getting the response times with all the samples, the average response times, the minimum response times, and the maximum response times. Let's come back to the active threads over time. So here we can see we have got the overall threads up and down coming. So they are logging into the system, and they are running the test with the planned execution. So the maximum is around 17, and then you can see there are some users ramping down since we have got the test completed. And yes, the test is completed now. So let's go back to the byte throughput over time, and here we can see the test is completed with not a huge or abnormal spike that we have observed here. Then let's see whether we have got any errors. So there is one, which is again, it's an expected one, so we can ignore that. Except that everything is fine. So with that, I think I have given you a demo of how to do a load test using the concurrency thread group. I believe this video would be very useful to you. So until we meet you in another interesting video, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and Little Sla. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel.